Hello, Colorado. It's time for Rise and Unwind. My name is Dan. You know, each and every week we talk to people from across the country about things you could do right here in your neighborhood. And on this week's show, we got this.
And then they post it on their own social media channels. But this is putting style over safety.
All of that and more right here on Rise and Unwind. Ever wonder what it takes to drive a massive truck across a sheet of ice? Knowing one wrong move could mean disaster. The hit History Channel series Ice Road Truckers has returned with its most intense season yet. Higher stakes, deadlier conditions, and shorter windows to deliver life-saving supplies to some of the most remote communities on Earth. Joining me is a fan favorite and veteran trucker, Todd Dewey, who's back behind the wheel for season 12. Welcome to the show, Todd. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm actually standing on solid ground right now, so I'm feeling pretty confident.
All right, there you go. For those of us, or for those out there who haven't seen it, what do you think makes ice road trucking such a dangerous and vital job?
Oh my gosh. Well, you hit it all when you explained it right off the get-go and letting them know who you were going to be talking to. It starts out from day one and it don't stop until the season's actually over with and you're on a plane flying home. I mean, what it takes to be an ice road trucker is a whole lot of crazy and a lot of trucking skills and a lot of years behind the wheel. That's what it honestly takes. And, you know, we go up there and fight Mother Nature like nobody's business, from snowstorms to thin ice to losing your loads to truck breakdowns and there's some things that happen this season. I know that we've had lots of other seasons and lots of things have happened, but I don't know why or for what reason, but things happen on this season that have never happened before. We had trailers going losing oversized loads. Some of the worst weather conditions I think we've ever been faced with up there, including very thin ice due to climate change, and a very short window to get a lot of loads in these communities. And what people don't understand is they're like, well, you're just driving down the road and just delivering a load. It's not like that. It's what we got to go through to get these loads into the community. Some people say, well, why is it worth it? Why do you want to go out there and risk your life and just to drive on an ice road and drive across the ice? Well, I tell you what, when you battle Mother Nature the way we got to battle it, and you get that load into the community, and these communities come out, and it's like Christmas time to them, and the little kids come up and they give you a hug and they're so excited to be getting their new bike, maybe that's in their load of supplies, or their food that they need for the remainder of the year after the ice roads, you know, when they all melt and they go away, that's the only access they have to get these supplies. So when I stop and think of my kids or my granddaughters going without food or supplies that they need to live throughout a year, that's how important it is. And they show their appreciation when you show up there, and it makes it all worthwhile.
And you face some brutal hauls. What's the toughest one that sticks with you?
Oh my gosh, there's been so many over the hauls. I can't give any away this year. You're going to have to put your seatbelt on and buckle up and watch a show and go for a crazy ride of this. But there's been so many times that I think I broke a couple records over the years for some of the heaviest hauls on the ice. And there's been a lot of situations. There's been a lot of scary moments. Let's put it that way.
And season 12, it marks really a big return after a long hiatus. What's it been like getting back on the ice kind of this time around?
Oh, I was nervous. I'm not going to lie to you. After having 8 years off and spending and doing a little family time and doing some graduations with my daughters and getting my new grandbabies and doing all that, and then getting the call to go back up after 8 years of not being on the ice, I was nervous. I'm not going to sit here and BS you. I was like, oh my gosh, because then you get flooded with all those emotions of knowing what's about to happen, how thin the ice can get, Mother Nature, the snowstorms you're going to get yourself into. Am I going to be able to get these loads? And do I still have what it takes to be an ice road trucker? And so the first couple of 2-3 runs up there, I was nervous like nobody's business, thinking, oh my, because it just flooded me with emotions. The second I hit that first ice road, I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe I'm here and doing this again. So it was quite the adventure, and this is definitely one season you are not going to want to miss.
And this season, we're seeing some veterans and rookies out there. How do the new drivers handle the pressure compared to some of the seasoned pros like you?
I don't know. You know, I've been with a couple new seasoned drivers that have been up there over the years of ice road trucking, and you know, of course, I don't ever leave a driver behind. If I'm with somebody and they're new and they don't know, they're in a situation where they don't know what to do or how to get out of it or how to fix their truck, I'm not going to leave them. I'm going to stay there and help them until we get everybody safe and we're back up and rolling and get out of Mother Nature's elements and get back to rolling. But as far as the new guys this year, I didn't get a lot of trucking time with them. I know that they were nervous. I did talk to them on the side a little bit. And when we were back in getting loads, they're like, oh my gosh, this is not what I expected. I didn't think the roads were going to be this brutal. I didn't think Mother Nature was going to be this brutal. And it's like, I asked him the question, well, what do you think about coming back for another season if the Muskie Creek asks you to come back and be another driver again this next year? They're like, oh man, I'm gonna have to think about it, because it's that brutal. I mean, these road conditions put you through things you never think your body, or physically and emotionally, that you'd ever be put through. It's pretty amazing.
And beyond the danger and the paychecks, what's the real reward that's keeping you back hitting the road over and over again?
Getting those loads to the communities, those hugs and those hot plate of food after battling and putting your body and getting those loads in the community from Mother Nature and battling those ice roads. When you see the smiles on those families' faces and the way they came up and they give you a hug, and it's not just like a hug like, oh, no, it's a hug like you can tell the appreciation in it. And they kiss you on the cheek or whatever they do, and they just look at you in the eyes and say, thank you. We needed this. That's what being an ice road trucker is about, and that's why I love doing it so much.
Do the words global warming scare you?
Oh, absolutely. It scares me because of the fact of it almost feels like there's going to come a time to where those communities can't get their supplies that they need to survive and take care of their families, and that is definitely very scary.
Todd, I want to thank you for joining me today. You can watch Todd and the rest of the Fearless crew now on Ice Road Trucker Season 12, airing Wednesday nights on History Channel and streaming the next day at history.com/Ice Road Truckers. Hey, Todd, thanks for joining me today.
You betcha. Hey, stay safe out there and buckle up for the first episode. You're going to need it.
Alzheimer's disease impacts millions of families, but recognizing the signs and knowing when to start the conversation with a doctor can still feel a little bit overwhelming. Natalie Morales is here sharing her family's experience caring for her mother-in-law who lived with Alzheimer's for about 17 years and why she's encouraging families to pay attention to memory and thinking changes early. Natalie joins us this morning to talk about that journey and what she hopes other caregivers could take away from it. Natalie, it's good to have you on the show, my friend. How are you?
Thank you, Dan. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Can you tell us about your family's journey with Alzheimer's?
Yes, my mother-in-law, Kay Rhodes, was 53 years old. That's exactly my age right now, when she was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's disease. And that can be a really tough diagnosis for the family member who's living with it, but most certainly as well for the impact that is felt on the entire family. So I am here today in partnership with Kisunla to raise awareness about the options that are available, which didn't exist when Kay was first diagnosed, such as amyloid targeting therapies like Kisunla, which is Lilly's therapy for early symptomatic Alzheimer's disease. That is an option that is so key to those who, in the early stages, who are dealing with memory and thinking issues. If they talk to their doctor, if it's available to them, it is certainly an option for them to have now that gives families some hope in the long-term diagnosis.
And looking back on your experience, were there any symptoms that you now recognize as some of the warning signs?
Yes, Kay had many memory and thinking issues, a lot of problems completing familiar tasks, even, walking around her neighborhood when she would start to get lost and feel anxious and afraid. These were all some of the early signs. And, her first cognitive assessments, her tests that she took were not definitive. So we continued to seek, and we knew something was wrong deep down. And we knew there was something that was, much bigger than what the doctors were telling us. They thought perhaps some of her symptoms were perimenopausal, which, listen, I'm there. I know exactly what those symptoms feel like when you start having those memory issues. It's that first sign that says, oh, is there this something more? Well, in Kay's case, it became very apparent. It was much more than chalking it up to perimenopause. And she did eventually go to the Mayo Clinic, and they definitively diagnosed her with Alzheimer's disease.
So what treatments are available for loved ones with Alzheimer's?
Well, now there are amyloid targeting therapies, with, Kisunla, for example, by Lilly, is one of the options that is available. Certainly, if you are experiencing memory or thinking issues or have a loved one who is going through some of those symptoms that I talked about, you should talk to a doctor or, to a professional about some of those issues. But most importantly, I would say there are also new advancements in medicine every day. Do the research. There are now diagnostic blood tests as well if you are having, or a loved one is having memory or thinking issues, that can help diagnose definitively whether or not you have Alzheimer's disease.
And you've also become a big supporter for caregivers. What advice would you give families that are caring for a loved one right now?
To have those conversations, to recognize, the importance of having the conversations early and often, and to understanding that there are now options available to you, like these amyloid targeting therapies, like Kisunla, and talk to caregivers about that, or talk to your doctors about, whether or not that's an option for you or your family member. Understanding that there are risks associated as well with taking therapy like Kisunla, but your doctor will be able to assess those risks and whether or not you are a candidate for it. But, I think it's also important to do, you saw somebody doing a puzzle piece. I do daily tasks that challenge my brain. I know, especially as I've said, going through perimenopause, it's important to continue to kind of change up what you're doing every day in a different way. I exercise regularly. My entire family, we're very, health and wellness minded. So we really watch what we eat, and we pay attention to our body, but most importantly to our brain health. And that's my hope for you.
All right, Natalie, where can people go for more information?
They should visit kisunla.com, and I encourage them to also talk with their doctor always, and talk to them frequently, and don't be afraid to have these conversations. Information is power. The more you know, the better off you will be to prepare for that future.
Natalie Morales, I want to thank you for joining me today.
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it.
A lot of action franchises try to go bigger every time, but Jack Ryan Ghost War is also digging into trust, loyalty, and what service really costs. The new film continues the world's fans already know, while standing on its own for people jumping in fresh. And joining us today is the legendary Wendell Pierce, who returns as James Greer. Wendell, it's great to have you on the show, my friend. How are you?
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, James Greer has always been one of the most grounded characters in this world. What do you enjoy most about stepping back into him for Ghost War?
The character of James Greer really reflects some of the people that I met doing the research of this character. Real CIA officers, retired, who have kind of given me their true north to form a more perfect union, and some of the debate that they have within the agency, and but understanding that the shared idealism of working on the mission, which is to form a more perfect union and protect that. Those are shared values. And so stepping back into the role, that's the thing that I'd love to portray. As an actor, you're a student of human behavior. And what you want to do is create the world so strong that it induces that behavior. And that's the great thing about reliving a role like James Greer.
One thing John Krasinski mentioned is that the story works for both longtime fans and for people who've never watched the series. Was that something you felt like while you were making it too?
Oh, absolutely. You don't have to be familiar with the series at all. You can come to this fresh. You will see the history that we have as characters. You will see our relationship. You will see our expertise. And then also you have this story of what's happening now, this casual act that I ask a favor of Jack Ryan to do for me that actually ignites a global espionage chase. And so it is one of those things that people who have seen the series can come to and appreciate the next level of where we take the characters, and people who come to this fresh and new. But what we do over the course of a series, put into a 2-hour movie, is just heightened and it makes it a lot more intense.
And you said it's been heightened, it's more cinematic, a little bigger, but it also keeps the political and moral tensions that Tom Clancy's stories are known for. What kind of balance does this film strike between action and some of the character?
Well, I think it's very important. I'm very proud of the fact that we keep the debate happening about the clarity of mission and clarity of what values are, and the political debate that happens around that, because that is happening within the world, what happens within the agency, and it makes you, as the viewer, look at it and decide what your values are. That's the forum of what filmmaking should be about, the place where we collectively come together, reflect on who we are, decide where we want to go, decide what our values are, maybe bring that into our lives. And so I love that we have that debate, and at the same time have some of the best cinematic thrill sequences of action comparable to the French Connection and Marathon Man and all of that, you know. So I'm very proud of the cinematic and the debate that happens within the film.
And fans, they know you from so many incredible roles from over the years, but there's something about Greer that people really connect with. What do you think keeps audiences invested in this character and this franchise?
I try to make James Greer a everyman, you know, that people look at it and go, there but by the grace of God go I. You know, that they can see themselves in James Greer. He's a man of pragmatism. He's a family man. He's flawed as he tries and did not succeed in keeping his family together. But with all of that, he is principled. And he attempts to hang on to his principles and values. And people will see themselves in that, you know. Not someone who's perfect, but someone who's pragmatic and at least tries to live by some sort of moral code. And that's who we all are, and that's who we are when we dream of who we can become. So that's the thing that makes him prescient, you know, and personal. And that's what I pride myself on when I try to portray him.
Yeah, thanks for being here today. Jack Ryan, Ghost War premieres May 20th on Prime Video. Wendell Pierce, I want to thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Most people think it could never happen to them until somebody suddenly takes over a property and the legal process turns into a total nightmare. A&E's series Squatters follows Flash Shelton and his team as they help homeowners reclaim their homes in some pretty tense and emotional situations. Flash pretty much first got in this world after dealing with some squatters in his own family home, and now he's helping people across the country. Welcome to the show, Flash. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Okay, your story started when squatters took over your mom's home. What was that experience like for your whole family?
You know, I kept it from my family actually, until later, but I couldn't tell my mom. My dad had just passed away, and I moved her in with me to sell her home and to help her have a fresh start and, closer to family. But, navigating that situation and learning all about squatters is what I needed to do to just be the good son. And my family, I couldn't tell my mom. She was still distraught over my dad. I just told her that I needed a lease so I could go up and be on the property to do some repairs. And, it was successful. I learned a lot about squatters and I out-squatted them. I figured if they could take a house, I could take a house.
And now that the show is out, what kind of reaction have you been getting from some of the viewers?
Everyone's excited. And, I think that the fact that the awareness is, it's teaching people what a squatter is and that they are normal people. They are just entitled and figured, that there's a flaw in the system. They should be able to take advantage of it. I think, people truly understanding that squatters are not homeless people. So squatters and a homeless and a housing crisis have nothing to do with each other.
And some of these situations on the series tend to be really intense. Was there one case in the season that surprised even you?
Yeah, I mean, I had a case where, there's several people and, I'm always hearing that, they're drug dealers or they're, committing crimes on the property or something. And, a lot of times it's, I have to look into it and I don't find any evidence of that. But in other cases, we just have to go in extremely careful. I don't want anyone to get hurt, including a squatter. So I think that the fact that, it's just, there are different types of cases every single day and different stories. So at this point, it's like, I don't know that anything surprises me.
And what do most people misunderstand about the squatting laws and how difficult these situations can become for homeowners?
I think that there is a misconception about squatter laws and tenant laws. Tenant laws in a lot of states were written under the, guides that a homeowner is rich and a tenant is poor. But anyone who owns a home knows that just because you own a mortgage doesn't make you rich. And tenants are not all poor. Some people just choose to rent. So, you know, it's I think that there's a misconception about the laws themselves and the fact that there is no line between a squatter and a tenant. So squatters are assuming tenant rights.
And after helping in more than 100 cases, what advice would you give homeowners to help protect themselves before something like this happens to them?
Documentation, like being able to document when an intruder enters and how they enter. In today's day and age, there is no excuse not to have a camera that you can monitor from your phone anywhere in the world. When somebody walks up your driveway, you get alerted. When somebody goes into your mailbox, you get alerted. If you can monitor when they enter, they are now arrested as a trespasser and they will never become your squatter.
Flash Shelton, I really want to thank you for joining me today. You can catch episodes of Squatters now on A&E with streaming available on the A&E app and at anetv.com. Flash, thanks for joining me again today.
All right, thanks for having me.
Do you ever wonder what happens when love, family, and small town drama all collide? That's the heart of My Life with the Walter Boys. After a whirlwind first season, the story is back with even more twists, tension, and second chances. Joining us are Nikki Rodriguez, Noah LaLonde, and Ashby Gentry, better known as Jackie, Cole, and Alex, to talk about season 2 and now streaming on Netflix. Welcome to the show, you three. How are you?
Thank you.
Doing
So
well.
good.
Thank you.
All right, Nikki, your character Jackie went through a lot this season. How does she approach coming back to Silver Falls after spending the summer in New York?
Yeah, I think, when she comes back to Silver Falls this time, I think she's ready to kind of face things head on a little bit. And I think she just wants to be like the perfect version of herself to kind of just make up for her past in a way. So I think that's her overall goal this season.
And Noah, Cole is stepping into a new role at school this season. What's it like to explore that side of him, and how does it affect his relationships?
Yeah, I think it was fascinating to step into that new side of him, because I think it's a version of himself that's taking ownership over his life. After throughout season 1, there was a lot of directing blame on other people and kind of self-sabotaging. So I think, taking ownership of your path and allowing, that growth to happen and start to prepare to be who you want to be for other people in your life, your family, the people who you want to show up for. So that was it was a cool turn to take.
Ashby, and your character, Alex, seemed to have changed a lot since we last saw him. How did you prepare to show that growth, especially with his focus on rodeo training?
Well, I listened to a lot of cowboy podcasts and watched a lot of YouTube videos and walked through the park a lot. And the rest of it, you'll have to see on screen. Yeah.
The show is based on a beloved book, and it's taken a life of its own. What's been like interacting with fans and hearing from them and seeing how connected they are to your characters and the story?
I mean, it's been an absolute dream come true. I think you always hope that you're bringing the character, like you're doing justice in a way. And so it's just been really lovely, the response.
And is there anything that you are expecting or would hope that your audience will take from season 2?
Yeah, of course. I think I hope that they would take it. I hope that they would to take away some of the lessons that are to be yourself, to love hard and love your family, and just know that if tomorrow doesn't work out, the next day is always there.
All right, I want to thank you three for joining me this morning. Season 2 of My Life with the Walter Boys is streaming now on Netflix. Make sure you watch and catch all of the drama that's been unfolding in Silver Falls. Thank you three for joining me.
Thank you. Have a good one.
A lot of us has probably seen those perfectly organized pantries or laundry room videos online, matching containers, clean labels, everything looking, that Pinterest perfect. But safety experts say one trend in particular could actually create some real risks inside the home. That's transferring cleaning products into decorative containers. A new survey from the American Cleaning Institute found more Americans are considered doing it, even though it removes important safety labels and child protection features. So joining us today is Torine Creppy from Safe Kids Worldwide and Brian Sansoni from the American Cleaning Institute to talk about why this trend is raising concern and what families should know. Welcome to the show, you two. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Thanks for having us.
All right, Brian, can you explain this decanting trend and why it's becoming so concerning?
Yeah, it's been all over social media the last couple of years where you'll see videos or posts of people taking a laundry detergent, laundry pods, laundry packets out of their original containers and putting them into clear jars and canisters because people might think it's stylish or it's very pretty, and then they post it on their own social media channels. But this is putting style over safety. So we recommend that, people don't do that. Keep it in the original containers because that's where the safety information is, proper use information, child-resistant closures. And this trend can encourage, maybe if you have little kids, kids are curious. And if it's some jar of a product is sitting out on a dining room table or something, that curious kid may try to open that or access it. So that's why we remind people these products are meant to be stored out of sight and out of reach. They're not decorations. The key message is store, not decor.
As we head into National Safety Month, what are some simple ways families could safely use, store, and dispose of cleaning products?
As a reminder, keep your products up, out of reach, out of sight, so that children does not have accessibility to them. Most importantly, if you have underneath counters, we want you to put a security lock on those underneath counters to keep children that are curious from not being able to access those products. And in a laundry room, remember, keeping those products up and out of sight and out of reach are important as well. And as Brian mentioned, we don't want them stored in a container that they didn't come in because they can be misinterpreted by family or kids that it look like candy. So most importantly, keeping them out of sight and out of reach.
Accidental exposures could happen fast. What should families do in an emergency, and what resources should they have on hand to help keep everyone safe?
Please store the American Poison Center's phone number, 1-800-222-1222, in your phone. Should an emergency occur, there are Poison Center experts who can answer your questions 24 hours a day and 7 days a week.
And finally, where can our viewers go for more information?
The American Cleaning Institute has great information on laundry safety and storage. Packetsup.com. You'll also find a great home safety guide. American Cleaning Institute worked with Safe Kids Worldwide in developing. It's a great resource for new parents. There are new parents every single day. So just direct them to that packetsup.com. We want to keep those little ones safe and healthy.
I want to thank you two for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's it for Rise and Unwind, Colorado. I want to thank you for tuning in and checking out the show. If you want to find out more about our show, go to our website. That's riseunwindtv.com. We're on social media. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. That's where you can get some behind-the-scenes photos and maybe some additional interviews. We're also on YouTube. That is at Rise Unwind for all of the above. And until next week, that was the show we like to call Rise and Unwind, Colorado.